Uh, I guess this one could be considered the big what if. You know, why I don't consider myself, or I guess call it the why I'm not a militia, or why I don't consider myself a militia member, or why I don't believe our group is a militia group. Um, we just don't follow the concepts of the typical militia. We're not open to a ton of random people from off the street. We've tried invoking people, involving people, and it's very difficult to find somebody who passes that litmus test of sanity and belief and morality and just overall political concept. And they have to be politically the same. I'm sorry. It's difficult for me to say that if you want someone who on your militia team is a Muslim or a leftist lib, how are you going to work? Like, you're going to have conflict issue no matter what it is. I don't care how constitutional you think you are, it's just not going to work. So, I've tried it. Like, the army itself would be a great concept of meshing all sorts of types of people, but you're not the army. You're not paying people, a salary of $30,000-$40,000 a year to coexist. You're not. You're coming this out of your own free will and spending your own free time and your own money. So, to sit there and think that you're going to be able to do it, I just don't see it. I see a lot of groups that say, we're not bigoted or racist, and we have a black guy, and we have a Muslim guy. Well, I just don't see it. A true Muslim does not work with the Constitution. The Muslim beliefs in Sharia law and the Quran are contradictory to the Constitution of the United States. So I would not feel comfortable with someone like that involved. I don't have a problem with race. I think whatever. I think race is perfectly fine, but you have to pass that litmus test. You have to be able to pass the litmus test of what is your core beliefs? What is, what do you believe politically? What do you believe is the moral objective of a group? And what are your morals in itself? Like, how do you approach a situation like this? And I can guarantee you, most people are very either naive to it or they're very blind to it. Or their people are just so patriotic, they're patriotic blind. And there's nothing wrong with being patriotic. I think most people really would see it, being a great thing. I'm in a militia. I'm doing my part. But what is your part? What is your role? I mean, are you training once a month or twice, every other month? Something. And that's great. If you do it, more power to you. I just don't see ourselves being considered it. And I'll give you a list of reasons why. One, we don't use rank. That was one of the things when we formed our group. We refused to use rank. Why? Because we saw it being abused like no other. It's all these idiots who want to call themselves commander this, staff sergeant group, staff sergeant this. You ever look at his thing, he doesn't really have a whole lot of people close in rank to him, which is funny. And they're always like this bizarre thing, like, well, this, you just begin, so I'm going to call you private. Okay, that's fair, but for what? And then 2 months later down the road, you do well, and they like you, so they just make you lieutenant, and it's like, okay, the rank structure didn't mean anything to begin with, so I don't understand it. And then you have a bunch of people who've never been in the military, or who were in limited military, expecting people to be called sir, or yes sir. Well, go to hell. I'm not going to call you sir unless you went to OCS, or you're a warrant officer in the military, armed forces, and you actually earned it. I'm not going to refer to you as sir in that aspect. You do not hold an actual officer or warrant officer rank. And same thing goes for being in, oh, I'm sergeant this. I'm not going to refer to you as sergeant or anything. I'm not calling you by rank. And that was my big thing. To me, it's a divider. And I think I look at it as we're all equal in this fight. One's going to lead, and when it's your turn to lead, you're going to lead. And when it's your turn to follow, we're going to have someone follow. So we switch through the roles. We see who's good at, leading in a pack, leading the 5-man fire team or 4-man fire team, the leader. Who's going to be a good squad leader. We rotate through it. Why? Because what happens when you're not there, or if shit hits the fan and you're the one walking home, and the 4 of your other people are up there. Rotate through it. Eventually, you guys form a mesh. You look at a lot of special forces teams and ranger teams. They're very equal to each other. They treat each other as equals, and they're small teams concepts. They acknowledge that. They know that, hey, you're very good at this job, so you're the company medic, or you're the little fire team's medic. You're this. You're really good at this. You're good at long range shooting, so you divide up the tasks that way. At least that way it's skill based and not just whatever. And I would never refer to someone as a leader like, well, here's our squad super leader, Sergeant Admiral. No, to me that's just stupid. I'll go on part 2. I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter so that it's not so long-winded. I'll go on part 2, why I don't see ourselves as militia next.